the Constitution. We need state and local legislation asserting the reserved powers. We need state and local legislation denying unauthorized federal power. The EPA no longer has jurisdiction in Arkansas. We'll handle that with an Arkansas Environmental Protection Agency. ATF no longer has authority in Arkansas because we believe in Arkansas we should defend the right of the people to keep and bear arms, not infringe upon it. Here in Arkansas, we believe that the people are smart enough, they are responsible enough to take care of their own lives and their own land and their own property. And here in the state of Arkansas, we don't believe that some magic thing happens to Joe the plumber when he's sent to Washington, D.C. that makes him superior to the rest of us. Because he's still your neighbor. And if he's smart enough in Washington, D.C., he's even smarter if he works for the state or local government. Sheriff, state, and local officials must stand in defense of the rights and the liberties of the people. Now, don't wait for state legislation. Don't wait for municipal ordinances. Don't wait for city ordinances. If you've taken an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States, that's all the authority you need to step up and say, I will not allow this to happen in my jurisdiction on my watch.
Amen.
That's all you need. Because you see, the only thing that needs to happen first is we must all be resolved to refuse to comply. Because it is of no authority, no legal authority at all. And so we just need to change this. We have sheriffs who are refusing jurisdiction of federal agencies all over the United States, and you don't hear about it. Why? Because they're refusing and the federal government is stepping down. Do you know why you heard about what happened in Oregon? Because the governor is a subject to the king. And because the sheriff is a coward who does not take his oath properly. And so you got to hear about that because the news happened the way the federal government wanted to happen. They're not going to publish the stuff when the states are standing for the sovereignty and the people are standing for the sovereignty and the government backs down. They don't want you to know that's happening.
That's right.
But it's happening. Write this down. The 10thamendmentcenter.com. The 10th Amendment Center will not only teach you the legislation that you can put into place to nullify, but they will help you get acquainted with other people who are already doing it. How many of you can think of at least 3 people who should have been here with you today? How many of you can think, how many of you believe that this class ought to be taught in your state capital? Well, you can make it happen. I've already taught the legislators of 10 states this class, to include the legislators of the state of Oregon. If I can teach state sovereignty to Oregon, shouldn't I be able to do it here in Arkansas?
Yes.
I also have a 3-hour course that teaches your law enforcement the principles of the Constitution. There are states in the Union that have been accepting my course as continuing education credits for their law enforcement. So all I need is an invitation, and you can make all this happen. My book, Sovereign Duty, will teach you what I just taught you in greater detail. Not only that, this book was so important to me because I believed this is the solution that our framers wanted us to follow. That I don't just give you the solution, I give you all my research. So in the back of this book, I have cited every quote and every document to its original source text. Because I want you to test me. I'm not afraid of what is presented in this book because I know it to be true. And I want you to be that confident in it as well. Because guess what? I can't reach your legislator. I can't reach your sheriff. I might be able to teach them, but I can't reach them. That must come through the people. That means you must be an expert. How many of you know we're not teaching our children what they need to know in the schools about the history of the Constitution? I have several resources available today that will help you. I have 2 books for our young people that teaches the course that he mentioned, the genealogy, the 700 years of history, the 5 documents. This is not being taught anywhere. Hillsdale is not teaching this. No one is teaching this history. And I want to assure you that I believe, and everybody who has attended my class believes, this is essential to understanding how the Constitution is supposed to work. I'm going to give you a little pop quiz. Oh, here's the other thing. I have a 3 DVD set of a workshop that I teach on Saturdays. There's almost 6 hours of training on this. This not only covers the history that's in those 2 books for the kids, it also covers the entire Bill of Rights. Shows you where they came from, what they mean, how they're supposed to be working, what we're doing wrong, and the solutions to making it right. If you have any questions about these, I can answer those back at the table. I'm going to give you a little pop quiz. Everybody ready? No cheating. You cannot look for the answer in your pocket Constitution or in your smartphone or your tablet. And this time, I don't want you to answer out loud, okay? Don't even lip sync the answer because I don't want your neighbor to have the opportunity to cheat off you. Everybody agree to that terms? Yeah? Book? Here's your pop quiz. There are 5 liberties in the First Amendment. To yourself and not out loud, name all 5 liberties in the First Amendment.
Thank you. I only wanted one.
In Florida, we have a Supreme Court justice named Fred Lewis who took a poll. Found out that only 2% of the Floridians polled could name all 5. Let me ask you this question. If you don't know what your rights are, how do you know they're not already gone? If you're one of those people who has taken an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States, how can you keep your promise if you don't even know these 5 liberties? And here's the ultimate conclusion. Our rights are a use or lose kind of thing. You have a duty to use them so you don't lose them. And if you don't know what they are, that tells me you're not exercising them daily, which means you don't know, and they're already gone. That's why I wrote this book. I was inspired based on that statistic to write this book, Liberty First, The Path to Restoring America. This doesn't just teach you those 5 liberties. It teaches you how to exercise them daily. Because the greatest problem in America is not the loss of our rights, but the fact that we don't even notice. Our framers gave us a great gift, the opportunity to self-govern. And the greatest condemnation on America today is our refusal to self-govern. And that's why we do what we do. If you want me to come to your school, if you want me to come and teach your group, if you want me to come teach your legislators or your law enforcement, I have no speaking fees. I don't make any groups, any schools, anybody compensate us for our travel or our expenses. So it's not going to cost you a dime. But what's it costing our children for us to remain ignorant? So don't hesitate and contact us. Let's do it so we can get this information out there. Now let me ask you the question. How many of you think if we had been teaching this for the last 50 years, we could possibly have the federal government that we have today? No way, right? No way. How many of you think if your legislators had to take this course every single year that we would have states, your Arkansas state would be operating the way it would be? You can make it happen. Finally, as I close, I have a radio show. How many of you listen to my radio show? How many of you just found out I have a radio show? Look at all those new listeners. There are several ways to listen to my radio show. Obviously, go to KrisAnneHall.com. We have all our podcasts listed. You can talk to your local radio station about carrying my show. I'm not like Rush or Laura or Hannity. I don't charge your stations to carry my show. I actually allow them to keep all the revenue they get from advertising on my show. I just want them to take it. We also, if we have a mobile app, how many of you have an iPhone? How many of you have an Android? You can download our mobile app to your phone for free. All you have to do is go to your app store, search my name, KrisAnne Hall, and you can download the mobile app for free. You'll have all my podcasts there. I am also on Google Music Play. I am on iTunes. I am on TuneIn Radio and some other places as well that are not on the list. I have books, I have articles, I have videos on a YouTube channel. I'm on Facebook and I'm on Twitter. One of the easiest ways for you to help me get this message out is to like my Facebook page and share our posts. Because I'm always teaching constitutional issues from a constitutional perspective. Once again, guys, I want to thank you so much for your time and attention. I want to thank this establishment, Daniel, is that his name? And Larry's Pizza for having us here. Give those who provided the food today a big hand. Wasn't it great? Thank you, Miss Misty, for making this happen. And thank you for your wonderful hospitality. Oh, we also have t-shirts back there. You can ask us about the t-shirts too. Thanks.
Let's hear it for KrisAnne Hall.
Got on the food. Can't clap.
How many learned something new today? You know, the more I learn, the more knowledge I gain, the more I realize how little I know. We must continue our education, continue to educate our kids. Folks, don't run off yet. Get in on the silent auction. We're still going to announce winners of the silent auction. We're going to give you time. We're going to give Mr. Bob Ballinger, if he'd come forward, we're going to give him just an opportunity to speak just for a moment. I know we're running short on time, but we're going to give Bob that moment. And then after Bob speaks to us, we're going to close this thing, and we're going to announce the winners of the silent auction. And after that's done, visit with one another. Talk about these issues. Take the fire with you back home. Educate others as you educate yourself. Bob, let's give Mr. Bob Ballinger your undivided attention.
Thank you all. I know that this is supposed to be over 15 minutes ago, so I'm not going to keep you guys for any length of time for me. And I know that sign auctions are going on and some other things, but I do, and to follow that, oh my goodness, it's like an impossible task to do. So I'm not even going to try to compare to that. But what I would want to do is kind of add to that a little bit. You know, I actually asked Gary whether I'm coming as a legislator, as a preacher. I want to make sure that's really clear. And it is as a preacher. So let me address some spiritual things, something that God has kind of used in my life, and then kind of let you take that. And I'm going to give you about the shortest sermon that I've ever given, which is probably one of my best, and it's probably a little big. In 1 Peter, it's kind of two theme verses, maybe three. I mean, two theme verses I'd say for my ministry that I think God has called me into that really is affected me. And then one thing that I think is kind of a charge for you all, or should be an encouragement to you all. And what I want to do is I want to talk about our obligation for stewardship. Now, in my circles, that usually means it's time to put your wallet out and to cut a check to the church. I mean, that's kind of what happens. But that's not really what I'm talking about here. So I'm going to start in 1 Peter, read a passage out of Galatians, and I'm going to get over and give you guys your responsibility in all this. I'm going to start in 1 Peter chapter 4, and I'm going to read about 4 scriptures. So 1 Peter chapter 4, starting in verse 7, says, "But the end of all things is at hand. Be ye therefore sober, and watch unto prayer. And above all things have fervent charity." That's agape love. "Fervent charity among yourselves, for charity shall cover a multitude of sins. Use hospitality one to another, without grudging." Verse 10, that's kind of the thing. "As every man hath received the gift, even so minister the same one to another, as good stewards of the manifold grace of God." Now, in this country, we receive a grace that isn't present in a lot of other places. And let me go ahead and turn to Galatians, and I'll read that and then talk to you just a little bit. So a passage in Galatians